Right now, somewhere in America, a person is signing paperwork on a German SUV they cannot afford. The dealer is smiling, the finance manager is smiling, the brand logo on the wall is practically glowing. And that buyer, they have absolutely no idea what just happened to them. I'm not here to review these cars, I'm here to warn you, because the marketing is beautiful, the showrooms are immaculate, and the depreciation is absolutely criminal. We're counting down 5 German SUVs that will drain your bank account, haunt your mechanic, and make you question every financial decision you've ever made. And number one is the one that genuinely shocked me when I ran the data. Stay until the end, seriously. If you don't want to get robbed by a Steelership in a polo shirt, you're in exactly the right place. Let's go. Number 5, BMW X4. Okay, the BMW X4. Let me just say this out loud so someone writes it down somewhere. This car should not exist. I mean that with full sincerity. BMW already makes the X3. Same platform, same engine options, more cargo room, lower price. The X4 is literally the X3 with a sloped roofline that destroys the practicality and somehow adds to the sticker price. Why? Because BMW looked at X3 buyers and thought, you know what these people need? Less headroom and more monthly payments. That's not engineering, that's marketing with a torque wrench. Now, here's the part they don't tell you. The X4 is sitting on dealer lots at roughly 45 to 55 day supply in most major markets right now. That's not a hot car. That's a car dealers are paying floor plan interest on while they wait for someone who really wants that swoopy roofline. Average transaction prices are hovering around $58,000 to $63,000 depending on trim. And the depreciation, year 1 alone, you're looking at dropping somewhere north of 20%. Drive it off the lot in California, get on the 405, sit in traffic for 40 minutes, and you're already down 5 figures. Congratulations. And reliability, look, the B58 engine in newer trims isn't terrible, but the electronics, the iDrive gremlins, the cooling system's tendency to develop opinions of its own around 60,000 miles, BMW ownership costs average nearly $1,000 a year more than the segment average, according to multiple long-term ownership studies. That's before you touch anything that actually breaks. This car exists solely for people who want to look like they drive an X3 but cooler. Spoiler, nobody can tell the difference in a Costco parking lot. And speaking of bad value, wait until you see what Audi pulled off at number 4. It's actually worse. Number 4, Audi Q5. The Audi Q5, the official car of people who almost bought a BMW but wanted to feel different. Which, fair, except this is where the trap closes. Most people get this completely wrong. The Q5 looks like a sensible choice. It's not sporty aggressive like the X4, it's not pretentious huge like the GLE, it's just a refined family SUV. Respectable, understated, German. And dealers know this. They use the Q5's sensible image to move units at transaction prices that are nothing but sensible. We're talking $55,000 to $62,000 for a mid-trim Q5 in today's market. That's not sensible. That's a financial hostage situation with heated seats. Here's the ugly part. The Q5, specifically older generations, has a documented history of oil consumption issues. The B2O engines from several model years were literally burning through oil between service intervals. Audi acknowledged it, quietly. You basically had to interrogate your dealership to find out. Real insider energy, Audi's oil consumption bulletin was more hidden than their dealer markup spreadsheet. Newer Q5s run the mild hybrid 2.0 setup, which is smoother, but maintenance costs don't care about mild hybrids. Audi dealers charge premium rates for everything. An inspection at an Audi dealership in New Jersey will cost you more than a weekend in Atlantic City, and you'll have less fun. Depreciation on Q5s is hovering in that brutal 35 to 42% over 3 years. You buy at $60K, you're trading in at $35K to $38K. Meanwhile, you've been paying premium insurance, premium fuel, and premium "we're very sorry the extended warranty doesn't cover that" fees. Wait, let me back up, because people always say, but the Q5 is reliable compared to other German cars. Compared to other German cars. That is the lowest bar in the automotive universe. That's like saying this gas station sushi is pretty good compared to last week's gas station sushi. You're still getting gas station sushi. The number 3 spot though, that's where it gets really unhinged. Mercedes is doing something that should be illegal. Number 3, Mercedes-Benz GLE. Oh, the GLE. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. This car looks expensive. It smells expensive. You sit in one and something in your brain whispers, yeah, this is the one. That whisper is a liar. The Mercedes-Benz GLE is a masterclass in selling you a feeling while quietly dismantling your finances. Let's talk real numbers. Base Mercedes GLE 350 is pushing $60,000 to $63,000. By the time the finance manager adds the premium package, the driver assist package, the ambient lighting you'll forget about in a week package, you're at $70,000, $75,000 easy. And somehow the monthly payment is only $1,100. Sure. Here's the kicker. The GLE's air suspension. This is where people get wiped out. The Airmatic suspension system on GLE models is beautiful to drive when it works, and it works great, until it doesn't. Air suspension repairs on the GLE run anywhere from $1,800 to $4,500 depending on which corner decides to give up on life. And it's not an if, it's a when. Ask any independent Mercedes tech, they'll laugh. Not because it's funny, because they've seen it destroy people. Reliability data from J.D. Power and Consumer Reports have consistently ranked Mercedes near the bottom of luxury brands for long-term dependability. The infotainment system, MBUX, has the electrical personality of a microwave trying to run Photoshop. Day supply on GLE models in high-volume markets is sitting around 50 to 65 days right now. Dealers are not moving these at sticker, they just pretend they are. A patient buyer in Texas or Florida, where inventory stacked deep, can negotiate $4,000 to $6,000 off. But most buyers don't do that because they walked into the showroom emotionally ready to buy, and the dealer could smell it. This is HOA-approved prestige. That's it. That's the product. You're paying $72,000 for a badge that your neighbor will absolutely clock from their driveway. This sounds good until you look at the long-term ownership math. Then it looks like a slow financial leak nobody told you about. Comment down below. Are you considering a GLE right now? Tell me your situation. I'll tell you if it's a mistake. Because number 2 on this list is the car that combines GLE problems with BMW arrogance and somehow makes it worse. Number 2. BMW X5. The American dream in German packaging. The car that says, I made it, while simultaneously saying, I have $987 monthly payments until 2030. Okay, real talk. The X5 is not a bad car. Dynamically, it's impressive. The xDrive 40i with the B58 engine is genuinely capable. And that's exactly why this is so dangerous. Because the X5 is just good enough to trick you into overpaying. And the market knows this. Transaction prices on X5s are sitting at $68,000 to $78,000 in most metros right now. For a 3-row upgrade to xDrive 50e, you're kissing $90,000. That's not an SUV, that's a house payment with headlights. Here's the part that nobody talks about, the N63 engine. If you're shopping used X5s, specifically 2012 to 2018 models with the N63 twin-turbo V8, I need you to hear me clearly. Walk away. BMW even had a customer care package, which is corporate speak for we know this engine has problems and we're trying to make it not a lawsuit. Oil consumption, high-pressure fuel pump failures, valve cover issues, multiple repair bulletins. The kind of engine that makes Michigan winters feel personal. Now, newer X5s with the B58 or the plug-in hybrid powertrain are mechanically more stable, but ownership costs across the board average around $1,200 to $1,400 per year in maintenance above the segment mean. BMW service pricing is a sport, an expensive one you don't get to win. Depreciation on a new X5, roughly 38 to 45% over 5 years. You're buying at $72,000, you're selling at $40,000 to $43,000. If you're lucky and the used market holds, which right now it's softening. Dealers are sitting on X5 inventory at 50 to 70 days supply in competitive markets. That means motivated dealers. That means a buyer with a patience and a pre-approval letter from their credit union can walk in and own that conversation. But most people don't. Most people are in love before they arrive. And that's how you end up paying $1,050 a month for a car that needs $3,200 worth of cooling system work at 85,000 miles. This sounds like the worst one, but hold on. The number one car on this list? Audi built something that genuinely shocked me when I dug into the ownership data. It's bad, like call your financial advisor bad. The Audi Q7, the crown jewel, the statement piece, the I have 3 kids, a golden retriever, and a very aggressive mortgage vehicle. And also the most financially dangerous car on this list. Let me explain. The Q7 sells you the idea of 3-row German luxury at a price that seems almost reasonable compared to, say, a Escalade or a Navigator. Base Q7 starts around $57,000. People hear that and think, not bad for a full-size German luxury 3-row. Except nobody buys the base. By the time you build the Q7 that actually feels like what Audi's advertising, Premium Plus, the panoramic roof, the driver assistance package, the 21-inch wheels that will make every pothole in Chicago feel like a personal attack, you're at $72,000 to $80,000. And now we're in the same stratosphere as a much better truck or a much smarter crossover. But wait, gets worse. The Q7 runs air suspension, and like the GLE, that air suspension is gorgeous until it's a $4,000 repair. It's almost poetic. 2 different countries, same expensive mistake. The Q7 also has a reputation for air suspension and electrical gremlins in the 70,000 to 90,000 mile range that will make you look up the phrase extended warranty at 2 a.m. Here's the thing that should be in a financial documentary somewhere. The Q7 depreciates aggressively for a premium luxury vehicle. We're talking 40 to 48% over 5 years. You buy at $75,000, and after 5 years of payments, insurance, premium fuel, and German specialist labor rates, you've spent roughly $100,000 in total cost of ownership, and you're trading in a car worth $38,000 to $42,000. Do that math again, slowly. $100,000, $40,000 in trade value. The rest, gone. Into the ether, into Audi dealer profit margins and timing chain tensioner replacements. Day supply on Q7s are running 55 to 75 days in major markets. These are not flying off lots. Dealers are quiet about it, but the floor plan interest is real, and it's accumulating daily. A well-researched buyer right now can realistically negotiate $5,000 to $8,000 off a Q7 without breaking a sweat. But here's what I really want you to hear. The Q7 exists in a bracket where you could also be looking at a Kia Telluride, a Hyundai Palisade, or a Toyota 4Runner. Vehicles that hold value, require dramatically less maintenance, and won't require a dedicated savings account for air suspension surprises. The Q7 is for people who buy status on a lease and never do the real math. And Audi knows it. That 3-ring logo does a lot of heavy lifting. Look, I'm not saying German cars are garbage. Some of them are genuinely impressive machines. What I am saying is that in 2025, buying any of these 5 vehicles without negotiating hard, checking depreciation curves, pulling reliability data, and having an independent pre-purchase inspection is a financial decision you will feel for years. The dealers are not your friends. The badge is not a guarantee, and the monthly payment they show you is not the real cost of ownership. The smart buyer right now is the patient buyer, the one who walks in with data instead of emotion, the one who knows what day supply looks like and uses it as leverage. That buyer wins. The other buyer finances the vibes, signs on the dotted line, and wonders why they're underwater 2 years later. If you don't want to get financially dismantled by a dealership in a nice building, hit subscribe. I post this stuff before the market catches up. And drop a comment. Tell me what car you're actually considering right now. I'll tell you straight up if it's a mistake. You came for a car list, you're leaving with leverage. That's the point.